Great. Thank you for joining us, Dorcas. So I think we're all good to go. Again, I'd like to welcome everybody and basically welcome you to this particular webinar on remote work and online safety. It's part of activities, as we all know, for Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And I'm happy to host today on behalf of the National Cybersecurity Authority. I will begin by just briefly introducing each member of the panel. And I would like to start with Ghislaine Kaigi, who is here on behalf of the National Cybersecurity Authority, and she is the Chief Cybersecurity Standards Officer. Ghislaine, welcome, and would you like to say something just briefly as we kick off?
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, panelists, for making the time and participating in this webinar. I hope we'll have a good discussion on remote work and online safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Ghislaine. I would like to welcome Alfred Haganda, who is the Information Security Analyst from Rwanda Information Society Authority. Alfred, welcome, and if you'd like to say something briefly. Alfred?
Yes.
Yes. Hello.
Yes. Thank you, Diana.
Yes.
I'm also working at home as well. Sorry if you see me. I mean, and as you said, and I work with RISA as an information system security analyst. I have been in this field for quite a number of years, more than 10 years. I've been working with Ministry of Defense, working with RISA. I shortly worked with NSA before it was inaugurated. I worked in a division of Rwanda CSAT, where Glenn and other colleagues are working now. So I'm happy to be with you on this topic of working home and online and keeping online safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Alfred. I don't think you have anything to be sorry about at home, and the theme is remote work. So I think it's fitting that some of us are in the office and some of us are here at work, and we're going to discuss how we can keep on doing this, moving forward with adhering to safety guidelines. I would like to welcome our next guest, who is Dorcas Rutunda, Country Manager for ITM Africa. Dorcas, welcome, and if you'd like to say something briefly about yourself.
Thank you, Diana. Like you've mentioned, I'm Dorcas, Country Manager at ITM Africa. We are a human resource firm, and I'm very happy that we are included in this very important conversation because as people in charge of people and with people working from home, we were the ones to face all the challenges that have to deal with people not being able to do their jobs correctly. So I'm very honored to be part of this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorcas, and hoping that your team is also part of this conversation. I hope you sent them the link. It would be great to see, for them to show, to see how their leader is, advising on remote work and human resource management. And last but not least, I would like to welcome with us here on behalf of KT Rwanda Networks, Petero Niyodusenga, Information Security Team Leader. Petero, welcome, and I would be happy to hear you say something briefly about yourself.
Thank you, Diane. As you put it, my name is Petero Niyodusenga, and I work with the Korea Telecom Rwanda Networks. Actually, we are the people now making that can communicate. So, as far as remote work and online safety is concerned, can you hear me? Able to hear me? Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So, actually making sure that we with each other. So, as far as working online and remote work is concerned, this is very crucial. And so I'm glad to be part of this to discuss a couple of things in regards to how actually we can remain safe in cyber warfare. So it's a crucial thing to be actually talked about between tech and non-tech people. Everybody's concerned. So I hope we have a fruitful discussion.
Thank you very much, Petero. I would like to just inform our attendees that we're going to have a discussion with interventions from all panelists, and then we're going to have a Q&A, question and answer session. So please get your questions ready and just, raise your hand. I think everyone has this on their WebEx screen. There's a hand icon. Just click on it and type your questions so we can read them out later. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for the great introductions. I will just kick off with the first question. And the first question goes to Ghislaine. And Ghislaine, I would like to ask you this question on behalf of, NCSA. If you could share with us, what are some of the most common incidences of cyber insecurity in Rwanda and cyber breaches, basically? And how does the National Cybersecurity Authority work with organizations in the public and private sector to address these cybersecurity breaches? Over to you, Ghislaine. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you for the question. So I'll try to start from the beginning. We've seen that nowadays more services, essential services, are delivered online, and in particular due to the COVID-19 pandemic, services such as financial transactions, work, or personal communication, or travel, or learning, or commerce. All the different services now are predominantly delivered online. And we've also seen that the government has invested a lot in digitizing payments for the different government services that are now also delivered online and paid online. And with that, all online systems have exhibited or have shown vulnerabilities in the way they are built. We've seen that we give out alerts or recommendations to people or institutions that they need to update them, that they need to regularly maintain them. So with all the systems that are online have vulnerabilities or threats, and which, if they're not addressed, malicious actors know that IT technology or the internet and the tools that technology provides, some people can use it for good to the society and people around them or for themselves, but also there are other people who use it to harm or to cause harm to others. So we always go to make sure that cybersecurity is a personal responsibility. It's not only for institutions such as ours or institutions represented in this discussion, but everyone has a responsibility in what they do or what they in the services they deliver. They have to make sure that they put in place mechanisms to protect those systems and also educate people on how they can protect themselves online. And in that, different programs or initiatives have been put in place, such as the Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And through this campaign, we will have different activities such as this one to raise awareness among citizens, among professionals on the best practices one can implement as the first line of defense online. We'll have the opportunity to share more on other things that have been done to ensure online safety. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ghislaine. Cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility, and indeed, it does start with you. My next question, I would like to extend it to RISA on behalf of RISA. On behalf of RISA and And here I would like to hear from Alfred. Alfred, if you could share with us, what does the work Rwanda Information Society Authority do? How does RISA work with other institutions to ensure a smooth transition to work from home and online safety in regards to work by employees? And here I'm talking about employees in the private sector and even in the public sector. Over to you, Alfred.
Thank you, Diana. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible and visible.
Okay. So thank you so much for the question. To begin with, due to COVID-19, we are strongly affected, and it's not only Rwanda, but also the whole world. So what we have done to ensure that working from home and online safety is kept in consideration, we started with there are some of projects we had before COVID that we enforced, like endpoint protection provision for all users, mostly in public sectors, considering critical infrastructure. Endpoint protection, those are antiviruses. We ensure that each staff in different organizations or institutions are protected with endpoint, because they were going to work from home. We had to ensure that whoever who is working from home is having antivirus, which is updated. So that is provision of antivirus. In so doing, also ensure that during COVID, the critical times of COVID, we were concerned about COVID centers where the records, the medical records, data from the patients and what, to ensure that those systems were protected as well. Another thing we did was high-speed internet provision for all workers or civil servants from different institutions. Most of them, they have high-speed internet. They are working from home. We had to make sure that whoever is working from home is having an internet. So another thing for safety of online, we ensure that whatever support we are doing, as you know, RISA is supporting different institutions in this country as far as ICT is concerned. We implemented VPN tunnels. Most of the times when you support someone online, there are some of softwares which are not secure, like TeamViewers, Ndesk, and so on. So for us, we implemented VPN tunnels whereby whoever asks for support, we pass through VPN to support him or her for any other problem he's facing at his end or her end. Another thing is awareness campaign by digital ambassadors. We have tried to engage youth in this activity, whereby they were able to educate citizens on how to access services on Irembo, how to use mobile money, and so forth. A lot of things for them to help those local people to understand how to use and access services that are beneficial to them. Another thing is we also enforced digital signature. We were sure that during this time, people require to sign, and I will not be able to meet my CEO or my director. So we had to enforce this kind of digital signature and digital certificate. So this was strongly done, and majority of the officials in the country were having these signatures. They were able to sign digitally. Another thing is what we call OGN, One Government Network. We are able to connect unconnected government institutions, that is to say schools, health centers, sales sectors, police posts, and so forth. So there was a lot of activities we are doing in this period, and we made sure that we are doing it very strong, and we push to the point whereby we focus on the main or the potential institutions that deliver or have critical data. So another thing is we had what we call smart administration. It's an application that we are able to allocate all documents, whereby each staff from home were able to ask for leave, were able to ask for some other requests from HR offices. They use this platform, and it is cost-cutting to all institutions. This was able to serve in the case of approvals and what. We had also advised government or institutions to store or to store their data on the data center, national data center, so that their security is ensured in one place. Another thing is we also worked hard with government and MINICT to facilitate this kind of phone penetration, as you have heard that people are giving phones to local people. So we are in that activity. We are able to supply those phones to citizens to make sure that they are able to get services from the phones. For example, in those who are farmers, they were able to see the crops that will be required in this year, or whatever the case, they will give information over the phones. Another thing is provision of all staff laptops, and this was done to all institutions. It is centralized procurement of IT services and equipment, that is hardware and software. We did this to ensure that whoever where he is able to deliver. Another thing is there are a lot of things I can't even mention them all here. Another thing is blueprint development. If we say blueprint development, it is a kind of assessment we do to across the government institutions to see the services that are manually, to see those services that are automated, and we advise them what to do. There are some services they give manually and they can be automated. So we try to fine-tune that and make sure that those services are digitalized and people are able to be served anywhere. In this, we also try to remove duplications. For example, there are a lot of sectors in Rwanda whereby you find that these institutions are doing the same thing and they have different applications that serve the same purpose. We had to centralize and make one application that will be doing the same job across the sector. There are some other things like online meeting, and we ensure that we have secure platforms that people were able to use during these periods in meetings. We facilitated the use of drone technology for hospitals to deliver. What we did, we developed strategies and policies on our side. There are a lot of things. Thank you so much. And as the discussion goes on, we'll be giving some other points to share. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alfred. Indeed, those are a lot of interventions that RISA has done. And just a quick question, when we say we did this for institutions, can you give us a brief overview of the type of institutions? Is it mostly in government? Is it I would assume it's in government. So just give us an understanding of the institutions that you're providing all these services to ensure a streamlined and safe environment from remote work.
Thank you, Diana. To be specific on this, we work with sectors. We categorize institutions in sectors. For example, I can give an example of justice sector. In justice sector, there are a lot of institutions where you find LIB, you find police, you find NPPA. Those institutions are covered in one sector, and they have what we call CDOs, Chief Digital Officers. We communicate with that CDO and we implement whatever we want to do in the sector. And that person is a representative of RISA in that sector. So from that, CDO is able to deliver, to communicate with IT from those affiliated institutions over that sector. So we did according to sectors, like Ministry of Health, Ministry of Finance, and so on. We have those people who are the target people, who are the key person to talk with, then they implement what we want and we have in our plans. So we did through sectors.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll definitely come back to you because I would like to see, pre-pandemic, was this happening during the pandemic and post-pandemic? Do we plan to maintain all these very important and critical interventions that RISA has done to ensure safe remote work? So I'll come back to you on that. Thank you very much, Alfred. Thank you very much, Ghislaine. I would like to go to Dorcas. Dorcas, a lot has been said about remote work and what they call Zoom fatigue. People are tired of the calls, of the webinars, meetings are online. In fact, some have said that, people are working more than before. You wake up in the morning and even though you're working from home, you spend more hours just going from call to call to call. So there is some sort of fatigue going on, but also, it's very important to know how can employers track progress of employees in terms of work, because you're not in the office. Some systems that were in the office, whether it's weekly meetings, whether it's evaluations, how do they happen online? So if you could just share with with us on behalf of ITM, a leading, amongst other things, human resource management company. If you could share with us, what are some of the ways in which companies can track employees' progress and, most importantly, maintain motivation, maintain a team building spirit when it comes to remote work and online safety? Over to you, Dorcas.
Thank you very much, Diana. This is a very actually real a reality that most of us had to face, especially with the pandemic and lockdowns. Before maybe I suggest on ways of tracking progress and motivation, ensuring motivation, maybe I can tackle first of all the challenges that come with remote works, because they are real. The first challenge is the disconnect. When there's this physical disconnect, where people are not together in an office, when you cannot barge into someone and knock and ask for something, there is that demotivation already. When you feel like you're all alone, everything is on you, the weight becomes much harder than if you are feeling like all of you guys are together, you're working as a team. But another challenge that also I think was observed by many organizations was tools or infrastructure. There's internet issues, there is devices, there all of that. I think Alfred talked about it, about how they avail those tools. And also the reliability of it, because sometimes you cannot always rely on internet, on the security and safety, which is why I think we're having this kind of conversation. So before we go on tracking the progress of the people, making sure that they are working, you need to first make sure that the challenges they are facing, you've addressed them at least at the maximum level. In terms of, first of all, you need to set up clear tools for the staff to work remotely. Do all of your staff have enough internet connection? Do they have enough tools to use in their daily work? Because you will not expect them to deliver something that you did not give them the capacity to be able to do so. So once you've at least dispatch the right tools to them, you have the right software and systems. Now you have to make sure that you give your staff as well clear expectations. What exactly are they supposed to deliver? And on this side, I would like to emphasize on the fact of monitoring or tracking achievements and not activity, because it's different. A lot of people, they want to make sure that you are seated in front of a computer and working, but that is not what you want to do, especially when it's remote, because someone might be working as they cook, for example, or they might be working as they take care of their children. So you do not want to waste your time on tracking activity per se, but you want to track achievements and results. So this changes a little bit on the way that the KPIs were maybe usually set, because the KPIs were set when we were all in office, everybody was working. You could see someone seated at the office doing their job. So when we move to remote work, you need to reassess your key performance evaluation indexes. What are the things that show that someone has achieved certain things, and adjust them accordingly. So to say that these are the results that we're looking for, therefore let's update our KPIs according to those results. Another way of tracking productivity in terms of not just achievement, but also in terms of morale, or I say participation. And for that, you need also to set up virtual meetings, but make sure that those virtual meetings are not the ones that will tire people, make them not want to come. You need to add a bit of fun in that aspect. I've seen a lot of organizations, including ourselves, we started doing online team building activities. It was not easy at first, but it was fun, and it would make people come in a meeting expectant to find something new. They're not sure. Yesterday they did something different, and this time they don't know what else they're gonna do. So that way you make sure that people don't get that fatigue, and it also brings back again that sense of togetherness. Another point that is very important as well is to lead by example. So you do not want to track progress when, as a manager, for example, you are always late to the online meetings, or you never show up. You want to lead by example, and every time you are leading, if you want, let's say, your staff to always have their video on during meetings, that's the first thing you need to do as a leader. If you want your team to understand the importance of the meetings, you need to be there as well. If you want to make sure that the meetings are productive and they should be short, then you should ensure that that happens. So those are different ways, but also without ignoring that remote work goes hand in hand with technology. So you need to also invest in the right technologies and the right tools. There are a lot of co-working systems and tools. There's Slack, there is Office 365 has a lot of tools as well. So you need to invest in those tools, and that requires a bit of a budget, and you need to be conscious to know that if you want people to work, if you want people to be able to collaborate, regardless of where they are, they need to have those tools. So it requires a certain level of investment, but first of all, acknowledge the fact that there are challenges and try to, as much as possible, to meet your staff into making sure that you are helping them in overcoming the challenges, but also and availing the right tools for them, but also update your policies, processes, and systems according to the new changes. Don't use the old way of work or old ways of monitoring, because it's not going to work. The last thing that maybe a lot of people ignore is culture. At the end of the day, as much as there are tools and controls and everything, if people do not feel themselves that ownership of saying, I need to do what I have to do, it's never going to work. So cultivating that spirit of ownership, of accountability, everyone knowing that this is my job, I need to do it whether or not someone is on top of my head checking what I'm doing. And also at the end of the day, you have to trust your people. You need to trust them that they will do the job and be able to reward or appreciate once that job was actually done. So there's not just tracking, but at the end, when the people have delivered what they were expected to do, you need to appreciate them and reward them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dorcas. Just a quick question. In your experience, you know, the oversight you give to companies pre-pandemic and during the pandemic, what do you think the productivity levels have been in terms of work from home? Do you feel, and I know it's largely a question that, you know, it's not like you have all the data to back it up, but do you think people are more productive when they work remotely, or was it better pre-pandemic, you know, being in the office? What's your view in terms of productivity levels?
My view in terms of productivity level, really, it fluctuated. And that is something that we observe because as of now, we have over 550 staff that we manage all over the country. And what we noticed was at the beginning, because everything was so uncertain, nobody has ever done that before, the productivity was really low. It was hard to get people to online meetings. It was hard to call someone for them to pick up and actually do what they're asked or expected to do. But throughout, and this is why I really emphasize on making sure that your staff have the tools, that you have the right systems. And once we put out the right systems, once we put out the right, we set up, for example, for all our SOS staff, we set up a remote supervision procedure where we would still supervise but remotely. So once we put out all those systems, it now people started to, oh, okay, now they've given me internet, they've given me this, they've given me a reporting template that I have to fill in on a daily basis and then on a weekly basis. And now they started adapting, and the productivity was way higher, actually. And I remember when we were about to come back to office, most of the staff were like, oh, we were so used, we had a routine, everything was so in place, you know. So there was a bit of a wave. At the beginning, it was really low. And that had mostly to do with the change, the sudden change, the uncertainties, and which is why it's very important as an organization and us as an HR firm to first understand the people where they're coming from, understand that there are things that they're going through. And once that was actually out of the place and we've put in place things to actually support them from wherever they were, now the productivity was really high. And now the critical path was when there was a new normal and they were getting used to it, and then we had to go back to the previous normal. And that also, so every time there would be a change, it would disrupt a little bit on terms of productivity. But the good thing about systems is that they are stable and consistent, and that helps to help with the damp. It's not as dramatic as it was before. People now, they just have to readjust, but slightly compared to before when it was really like a shock. So
interesting perspective there. Thank you very much. Before I go to Petero, I'd just like to inform the participants. I can see the number keeps on going up, which is great. But please get your questions ready, or your interventions or comments or suggestions to share them. We would like to share them in our guest speaker panelists later on. I would like to go to the gentleman here from KT Korea Telecom Rwanda Networks, Petero, and I'd like to just ask you. A lot of people have said that one of the most important aspects of working safely online, remote work, working from home, is also the infrastructure, the internet. So, Petero, since the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic last year, we all know there's been an increase globally in remote work. As a telecommunication company and a provider of internet that manages internet infrastructure in Rwanda, what measures has KTRN put in place to ensure reliable and safe internet for people to work safely from home? Over to you, Petero.
Thank you, Diane. Yeah, thank you. That's a good question, actually. Being a company that is leading as far as maintaining national backbone is concerned, actually, the very first thing is what we did was to, first of all, make sure that investment towards expanding and making sure that our network is upgraded is concerned, because having major activities we did was to upgrade our network. That's one, and also making sure that we also, on the high level, in terms of telecom or ISP, we actually implement security controls to cater for overall security, and as far as making sure that our clients are happy in terms of how they communicate. And of course, this I'm saying it in the perspective of security. We have put up measures and also infrastructure that is able to cater for security, but also advising our stakeholders in terms of what they need to put in place. For example, when you're connecting to office work, a server, you have to make sure that you don't just connect anyhow, because in between you and the server which you want to connect to, actually somebody may jump in and be able to catch or grasp the communication. And so VPN is critically paramount to be implemented, so that at least you can be able to connect safely, having a secure channel, as Alfred put it. Actually, as a company that oversees how people connect, not only protect on the high level, but also advise different stakeholders in terms of end users through the companies they connect to be able to at least implement basic security controls in terms of having well-updated antiviruses, making sure that the operating systems, they don't have loopholes, they are patched, and also having some applications upgraded in terms of, because there are some applications which you don't upgrade. In case you don't upgrade them, definitely there will be, they'll attract, I would say, malicious people who will be able to take over the I would say how they operate in terms of how you connect. So you have, as end users, they also have to mind their business, because when we look at high level in terms of ISP, and we forget the end user, who is actually the person who is going to be actually missing the point. So the security is for everybody. In terms of ISP, we advise our, I would call them retailers, people who actually make end users connect, to be able to advise users, because these are, at the end of the day, the people that are using our information infrastructure. For us, we are only transporting them and making sure that the infrastructure can be able to accommodate as many as possible. But the end user, who is actually the person who is allowing traffic in and out, he is actually the person who is the main target for the hacker, and he's the client whom we're also dealing with on a daily basis. And so we extend and escalate and make sure that this security is also applied indirectly. But also on top of this, we go ahead and do these kinds of awareness. They are equally paramount, because once the human firewall is not instructed, the hardware firewall that you have is going to be in vain. So human firewall has to be reminded on the best practices that have to be implemented in place, so that together we can be able to have this as a joint operation, not only for the ISP side and the company that is connecting end users, but as a joint effort, not for one specific company called the telecom, so to speak. And so I would say, on top of this, failure to actually implement security controls, be it on the low level, I mean on the client level and on the ISP level, it brings a total mess which actually hinders for the business operation. So in as far as the telecom company is concerned, what I would say is we have put in place measures to make sure that we have everybody actually play his role, so that as an entire ecosystem, we can be able to have actually a safe and secure information infrastructure. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Thank you, Petero. And just a quick follow-up question. You know, before the pandemic and now, has there been a huge uptick in terms of user, connectivity, in terms of an uptick of users, in terms of, the services that your company provides?
Definitely, as since the COVID outbreak, actually, we've seen a huge increase of people using internet, given the fact that everyone now is working from home. And so we have seen this actually rising so high, not only in telco, but everyone is working from home nowadays. Kids are studying online. And so we have seen a trend, and it's like, ISPs are really overwhelmed with the number of people who are using internet. And so that's why we must be concerned. And so that's why I started saying that the upgrade actually has been implemented so that we can cater for all this. So so far so good, no complaints, because we have a big pipe that can be able to pretty much transport anybody. Yeah.
I like how you say that. Thank you very much, Petero. I would like to remind everyone, please field in your questions. But before I go to the questions, I'd just like to hear from Ghislaine, from Alfred, from Dorcas. Is there any comments you want to share based on what other panelists have said, or just following is there any of you before we go to the question section?
Maybe let me go first. Okay. Just mention something about everyone's responsibility to fact that security is not serious. Actually, it can compromise pretty much everything. If I use, you'll be told, can you click here? Maybe one to actually claim your money. Some people will trick you through that one, we call it phishing. People go an extra mile, the link to click, but also encourage the use. Since by one person, but that's to be concerned. No, there's which actually they'll call you to mind your business. When it becomes to somebody will tell you what that has come to you. Please, I emphasize the point saying that we may have a firewall infrastructure in place, but if human firewall is not well trained, actually everything is going to be a total mess. That's why it starts from the end user and then to the ISP and then to telco and then to organizations and so on and so forth. If we can fight together, I believe we can be able to remain safe online wherever we work, either working from home or from the office, because anytime, anywhere, you can be actually hacked. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Thank you very much, Petero. I really appreciate how you emphasize that cybersecurity begins at an individual level. Absolutely, I cannot agree with you more. Ghislaine, I think you wanted to say something, and your sound went off.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Petero, Dorcas, and Alfred for your comments. I wanted to add something on what Alfred said on what they deliver, and also to address one of the comments, Diana, you made regarding if they support the private or public institutions only. So I think maybe to emphasize on what Alfred said, RISA and through the Ministry of ICT and also RISA, they also give guidelines. They gave guidelines on remote work that was for the public and for the private sector, all of them. One of the things they did is to recommend some of these meeting platforms or collaboration platforms that were tested for their security resilience, so that if you use it, because I think at the beginning there were a multitude of solutions that were being provided that people can use to do their work or to study online or to do different services online. So they provided a list of platforms that an institution or a person can use, be it in the private or public sector, to do the meetings or the different communication. Another thing is the digital signatures that not only public institutions members can use, but anyone in Rwanda who wants to own and use a digital signature, they can contact, or I think there's also an online platform that one can go to get those digital signature, so that you don't need to move physically or take a lot of time to get the approval you need. And another thing was the ICT ambassadors that are used that do also address the public, every citizen, to share with them the best practices to follow when online. Something I wanted to add on the side of NCSA, because we're the I don't know if it's by coincidence, our institution was also started during the period of the pandemic last year in 2020. So I think our institution also was started at the right time to provide the necessary support to citizens, to institutions, on how they can better protect themselves and the information that is online. And one of the services we provide policies, standards, guidelines that one can can use or can refer to make sure that the information or the institution or the employees are safe with whatever they do online. Another thing, we have a team which is called the Rwanda Computer Security Incident Response Team, which is a team that works 24 hours by 24 hours, 24/7, to provide technical support or guidance or advice to anyone who has been a victim to a cyber threat or to cybercrime, but also if they need advice, not just waiting for the threat to be exploited. They can contact that team for them to come to their help or to their assistance, and they can be contacted through the toll-free of 9009. And then another activity we do is this Cybersecurity Awareness Month, where it's not only us, but it's other institutions like KTRN, like RISA, and now ITM Africa, and other institutions. And apart from the Cyber Awareness Month, we continue to work with institutions, with sector regulators, to make sure that this work is not only done in a particular period, let's say for the campaign only, but even going forward every day, to make sure that our information, the systems that run where these services provided are running from, that they are secure. And in case there's any incident or any specific case that needs to be addressed, we work with different institutions to address them. So as there's a saying that we usually hear that cybersecurity is not a product, but it's a process. It's not something that you do once. Let's say like putting on those antivirus or firewalls. It's something that you do every day, every time. You keep updating, you keep training yourself, you keep updating yourself, you keep learning something new, and you keep strengthening the security of the network, of the systems. So I think that that's one thing that I wanted, some points that I wanted to add on what has been said so far. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ghislaine. I want to go to the section on questions. We have a question coming in from Ben Rwamutyo, who says that and I think his question would be to you, Petero, on behalf of Correct Telecom Rwanda Networks. He says, what is the country coverage so far for decent internet reception and accessibility? And perhaps projection for full coverage implementation in case it is not yet met. Over to you, Petero.
Thank you, Diane, for the question. And I would assure the person who asked the question that so far so good, I would say, because we have been able to cover up to actually, I would say 94% so far for the national coverage. And we are still having some more initiatives to make sure that at least we can be able to have actually 100% coverage. But the issue mainly is with power, most places, I would say. But so far so good, actually, because in some places where there's no coverage, it's a matter of doing optimization. Some people keep tracking where actually there's no full coverage, be it in town or up country. And so whenever we get some feedback, because we do actually what you call drive tests to be able to figure out where we have weak signals so that we can be able to amplify it, so on and so forth. So we have to make sure that at least we make our clients happy, okay? And so in this regards, it's a matter of only pointing out where they feel coverage is not that good. And then we do fine tuning, because as of today, we have I would say towers in countrywide. And so it's a good thing. So far, 94%, you understand, we are really almost closing the entire country, making sure that everybody's connected. So yeah.
Thank you, Petero. And I hope Rwamucho's question has been answered, and he'll let us know. The second question I have coming in is from Rosemary Butare, and she says that, and allow me to read it from my phone. I don't know why I can't see it on the screen. She says that I wish to first and foremost commend the ongoing Cybersecurity Awareness campaign. It's a job well done. Thank you, Rosemary, on behalf of all the institutions representing here, being part of this campaign and the conversation we're having right now. She says, when it comes to raising user awareness in the information security domain, the main hurdle seems to be avoiding technical jargon. I agree with her. To be able to get the right messages across the majority of users with no technical background. My question to you and the panelists is, what do you think needs to be done to know that the right message is getting across, and also measure the value that such campaigns deliver? And this question, I think, is to all of you, from Ghislaine to Petero to Alfred and Dorcas. She's talking about the technical jargon, people without a technical background, and cybersecurity. For sure, the jargon is it's very, either you're a nerd in the IT space or, if you're a layperson, it's not easy. So a question, I would like to put it forward to you. How do we measure the value that such campaigns deliver, such as for cybersecurity, and what needs to be done to get the right message across? Would any of you want to weigh in?
Alfred, did you want to go first?
Yes.
All right.
I want to respond to the question. I think, first of all, I would like to thank that person who asked the question. It is a very good question. So the point is we have to start with awareness campaign, as we did, and we work with the National Cybersecurity Authority. And those campaigns or awareness are divided into two. There are one for basic users and one for ICT. So those ones for basic users or novice, they are simple questions, how to make password. So those are initiatives you have to go with, and we don't have to have one awareness for cross country, because there are some IT people and there are those who are not an IT people. So we divided them into two. There's one for people who are not from IT sector and the other one for people from IT sector. That is one thing. Another advice I would recommend to do to ensure that all people are catered and they understand the dangers of cyber crimes and what it is, talking with officials to recommend that even in universities or a secondary level, they put this curriculum in their education, such that each student, regardless of which field he or she is in, should have this portion of IT security, to know the dangers of cyber security, because most of the youth and people, they are using social medias and they are not aware of dangers of the social medias. So we need to add this in our curriculum, so that they have these hours in their daily lectures and so that we equip young ones from their schools, then they access these resources, having knowledge of how to be safe online. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alfred. Dorcas, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Alfred. It's in the same sphere. I wanted to add on it to say, in order to demystify the whole cybersecurity issue, is really to put it not just in the hands of IT people, because that's how it's understood by most, and make it much more reachable to anyone. And this, I think, it requires, of course, IT people are the ones that understand exactly where the dangers are, what those dangers are specifically, but they need to now communicate to all levels of people, individuals, organizations, for us, I would say even departments, for them to all understand what it is about. And in that same sense, the same way people know that first aid is not just for medical people. Anyone can have a basic first aid measures, know what to do, procedure in certain situations. Same way, it should be so demystified that every person will just understand that a cyber safety is something that anyone who's using any electronic device or online system has to just know. And that will really imply a lot of collaboration. I think at this point, even in organizations, you will notice that the IT team has that one office in a corner where you only go there when something has crashed, and they don't get to be involved in the day-to-days yet. That's where you need to know that, oh, this is a danger. Please don't do this. This is not how it's supposed to be done. So we need to have the IT join the rest of the people, explain to them how it's done, but on a day-to-day basis, because awareness is great, campaigns are good, but for people to be conscient on a regular, it has to be repeated and added into their routines. So there is that need of educating, but not just in a formal way, but in a day-to-day basis. How do people have conversations on how strong is your password, for example? How strong are your systems in your organization? So such conversations will lead to people being much more aware or conscient of the need to be safe online or offline. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dorcas. We have another question coming in from Andrew B, to all panelists. And he says, apart from establishing a resilient infrastructure and conducting awareness, what else do you think could be done or is being done to secure the Rwandan cyberspace?
Let me answer that question. Maybe others will complement. So apart from building a network, a secure network infrastructure and the awareness, what else can be done? First, even the network infrastructure, its security should be maintained. Like we said, or like others have emphasized on it, it's not something you do once and the security will be for forever. You need to repeat that and do it regularly and maintain it. And another thing, maybe to even build on answer the question that was raised by Rosemary. I think one other thing is to the awareness will continue. It's not something that we want. Yes, the specific time is there, the October month, but also going to November. But even after that time, we'll continue to share best practices that one can implement. And one of the things that we've emphasized on, or that we've used in during this campaign that we're still using, is to make sure that even what we're saying now, because we are using English, it's a foreign language, to also provide this information in Kinyarwanda that most people use and understand and speak on a regular. So we are providing materials, not only NCSA but other institutions in the Kinyarwanda language, local language, which will be easier to understand and easier to implement. And another thing is the collaboration between the public and the private sector, because it's not only up to the government or to the public sector to provide the different measures that one can put in place, but even the private sector can come in and contribute. For example, we have like training centers, we have like cyber centers where you go and they actually show you examples of, like they simulate examples of cyber threats and how bad they can be, but also they provide these trainings to people in the tech industry and people not specifically in the industry, and other initiatives that the public the private sector can contribute. Another thing is the partnership with academia, where we've started looking into how we can work with different levels of education, not only universities, but also even in the lower levels of education, like primary school, like high school, where how we introduce courses that or programs, training programs that are related to cybersecurity, information security, that is easier to digest depending on the different levels of education. Like just how students are taught languages or any other subject that you find is across all different levels of education, but see how now cybersecurity, information security can also be part of that, because like Rosemary said, that you find that nowadays that the emphasis is with cybersecurity professionals or IT people, but now we want to include others, bring others on board, and educate and see how we can all work together to ensure that no one falls victim to cyber threats or cybercrime because they were not aware of what to do in case they're faced with those threats. I think that's what I can share for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ghislaine. And also thank you very much for sharing the work that MCSA has been doing. I know it's a fairly new, 3-4 year institution, and great, great interventions from all the panelists. I'll just like, as we close, to give time for you to give your closing remarks. It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, but ideally cybersecurity should not just be heightened in October during this global cybersecurity month. It should be something that should be permanently a fixture in terms of how institutions work, in terms of how individuals, have activities online. I would like to just give time for all the guest panelists to share their closing remarks, and massive thanks to the participants, the questions. We'll have this recording uploaded and shared on the YouTube channel for the campaign, the Cybersecurity Awareness Month campaign, and shared, to the general public. But yeah, closing remarks, and I'll start with you, Petero, Alfred, Dorcas, and then Ghislaine.
Thank you, Diane, for the flow. And actually, let me say this. Ghislaine mentioned something that security is not a product but a process, and I 100% agree with her. Why? Because in as far as building resilient infrastructure is concerned, it's a good thing for both the organization as telecom company or ISP and other institutions. But remember, when you build a house, you put good doors, you lock windows and everything. Remember, the thief may come from the rooftop. So you need to make sure that you put up a very strong rooftop as well. Not only do you do that, but remember you have to put up a guard. And so building a resilient infrastructure is one thing, but also we have to keep an eye. That one is referred to as monitoring, making sure that every day is a new day. You actually keep on watching, because in security we have what we call zero-day attack. Zero-day attack happens because we have new threats coming up. There's what we call virus definition. You may use an antivirus, but all of a sudden there are some malwares which cannot be captured by certain antiviruses because they are new. They are defined as a new product. They are thrown in the space, and people can be able to grab and grasp them without knowing. And so we have to keep learning. We have to keep on enhancing and keep on making our infrastructure resilient by closing all possible loopholes. If you build a house, I said, you can put good doors, good windows. Yes, you make your rooftop resilient, but remember still, the thieves can be able to actually drill in your wall. So what do? Actually, we have to keep an eye on the computing devices that we have, because that's where actually the computing devices, they act as gateways. And so human firewall, which I said our brain has to be trained, not only maybe in the month of October, but every other week, every other day. And remember, as an advice I would give, everything you're going to do online, before you click, think twice. By thinking twice, you'll make a decision of either clicking or not clicking. And so putting it at a low level, mind your business, whatever you do online, think before you click, but also keep an eye. As an ISP, we keep an eye. As Rwanda CSAT, they keep an eye. As she said, 24/7. They're in charge of making sure that our information infrastructure is safe. And so, as end users, we also have to mind our business on whatever we do, terms of transaction, terms of doing Momo transfers and everything. The bank, whoever that you give your phone to be able, somebody will tell you, can I borrow your phone so that I make a phone call? Don't just accept, right? Question everybody. Actually, maybe one last thing I would say before I hand over the mic to any other person to speak. You have to question everybody, including yourself. You'll question yourself by minding your business before you do any other transfer activity or any click that you do online. You have to think twice. That's how you question yourself. Then question your neighbor. By the time you do that, then we are going to have a safe infrastructure by making sure that everybody plays his role. This is a joint effort, and so let's go into it. And I know if everybody behaves, actually we are going to have a very safe cyberspace, so to speak. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Petero. Absolutely. Think before you click when you're online, and think twice, when it comes to cybersecurity. Alfred, closing remarks?
Yeah, thank you, Diana. I would close with these words. One is awareness. We need to strongly enforce awareness, more awareness campaigns, and we start from basics and make it friendly, because there are people from other fields who are here in IT. We know this, and in order to engage them, we need to teach them friendly, and you show them you have to do it like this. So differently from other people who are doing it, and thinking that the way I understand IT is the same as the one I'm teaching. So we need to engage them friendly so that they love it. Another thing is improving in capabilities. When I say capabilities in ICT, I mean infrastructure, I mean tools and skills as well. We need to have the requirements of IT security, like firewalls, access points, and what. So all those tools are required, and having them without skills are useless. So we need to have hand in hand the skills and tools in place. Lastly, we need to love IT because it is enabler to all sectors, whether finance, agriculture, education, and health. Whatever you do, you need IT. So you have to love it and live with it. Thank you. And security is a must. Thank you so much.
You do have to love it and live with it. Absolutely. Can't agree with you. Can't agree more with you, Alfred. Dorcas, closing remarks.
Yes, my closing remarks would be, as we continue to embrace digitalization, let's all take cyber safety and security as everyone's responsibility, as much as individuals and organizations, and let's be intentional in staying educated and updated on the best safety measures and practices. And let's also collaborate. I would call on to everyone to really collaborate. There's the national cybersecurity, but also us like HR people and people that are in charge of other people to really intentionally look for more education to understand how do we keep others safe, how do we keep each other safe, because we are only as safe as the next person. Thank you.
Absolutely. Degrees of separation based on safety. We are all affected. It's a chain link. If I email you, my email is compromised, I send you an email and you download something, you're compromised. The list goes on and on. We are absolutely all in this together. And cybersecurity, really, I would like to reiterate, it should start at an individual level. Thank you very much, Dorcas, for your interventions on behalf of ITM. And last but not least, I would like to give closing remarks to Ghislaine. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you, panelists, and thank you for the questions. For my closing remarks, I will say to and then also say that during this campaign, we will share different practices or different warnings that people should take notice of, but also even after the campaign, we'll continue to share all the different recommendations through the different available platforms, like the website, like the social media platforms, and not only NCSA but other institutions as well, who are also taking part into this initiative of ensuring the online safety of all Rwandan citizens. Another thing is to always encourage people to continue to educate themselves, learn something new every day in regards to your protection online, and also apart from your individual learning initiatives, but also protect the different devices that you use, either your phones, your laptops, your tablets, or any other device that you may have that has access to the internet. Make sure that you also implement different protection measures to those devices that you use. And another thing, for people who, in particular to those who are addressing today, people who work, make sure that you protect your work information, back up your information so that in case it's lost or your devices are compromised, you have like a backup of that information, important information somewhere else that is also secure. And that's why we work with institutions to remind them to have policies in place on how they handle their information, to make sure that if people are working from home, they'll make sure that the information cannot be lost. The different backup measures that they can use, and also tell people to, in case they are faced with a threat or with an incident, or they are faced, like they receive like a phishing email or a suspicious call, to address their IT teams, because they may know more actions that they can place to decide either if the email is dangerous and not respond to it, or the call and not respond to it. But also, in case they need more help or more specialized help, they can also contact the CISO team at 9009. But they can also, even the IT teams, different IT teams usually know how to reach out to us. And then to institutions to implement a level of risk management in place, so that they implement security mechanisms to protect the services that they provide. But also, those risk management plans will help them to avoid some of the vulnerabilities or threats that may target the institution, so that they protect from them beforehand, because there are some threats online that you can prevent before they even happen. But there are others, like Petero said, like the zero-day attacks and other vulnerabilities that may not have been identified. Those ones, there are teams in place that can work together to address them, because what we emphasize on is to institutions to educate their staff, either technical staff and non-technical staff, to be able to address some of these incidents as they happen. We only come when there is need of specific or special support that is needed, or advice to make sure that the services that people need are secure, and they can trust them, and that they can be free to use them without complaint or suspicion. And then other than that, I thank everyone who participated in this webinar, the panelists and the attendees. We'll continue the discussion through different platforms. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your concrete interventions, Ghislaine. We've come to the end of the webinar. We'll be having more webinars on cybersecurity, with other partners as part of the Cybersecurity Awareness campaign. But I'd like to thank ITM. I'd like to thank Dorcas Rutunda, Country Manager, ITM. I'd like to thank Alfred Haganda from RISA. I would like to thank Petero from Korea Telecom Rwanda Networks. I'd like to thank Ghislaine from National Cybersecurity Authority. Thank you all. Thank you to our participants. And let's keep the conversation on cybersecurity going.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Diana.
Thank you all. Have a good weekend. I am now going to close this link. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.